Day number 18, and I guess the third or fourth full day of Amber Heard's case in chief, and boy, it was just an afternoon at the movies. And basically all that was up there, 5.5 video depositions, and then yes, there was one full one at the end of the day yesterday, but it really is just all the same shit over and over and over again. Okay, they went through all of her close friends at the time, every one of which no longer associates with her, okay? And everybody's lives seem less off than they were both at the time and in the aftermath of this entire debacle that was there, okay? Because right after Amber Heard got absolutely maker's marked on the stand by Camille Vasquez, they played the testimony of I.O. Tillett Wright, and that's the picture of now him there, and yeah, what did he have to say about this situation? Johnny was a lovely guy, and we took a liking to each other, and we'd share stories back and forth. Cool, great. Now, what you're gonna notice, okay, because there was one live witness today, and we'll probably save that for last, because it was the most, I guess, consequential, mostly because it was actually somebody that was in the courtroom willing to make the journey in order to speak on Amber Heard's behalf. Because again, nobody wants to associate with her anymore, okay? You had Tillett Wright, who was living on Johnny Depp's dime for a long fucking time, okay? Somebody who had a deep and philosophical and emotional connection with both Heard and Depp couldn't be bothered to fucking make the journey, okay? Had to rely on video testimony, which probably played in Amber Heard's favor, if we're being completely honest about this, because there were a bunch of objections that would have been made in court if these people were actually there. There was a lot of hearsay testimony, especially when it comes to one witness in particular, but yeah, just for completion's sake, like, we'll get right up to date, because hopefully there's something of consequence that comes out tomorrow, because everybody was saying that, with the exception of the one person that was in the flesh today, nobody's seen anything happen between the two of them when it came to physicality. Nobody could really vouch for anything outside of, yeah, we took some pictures of some stuff, but then of the stuff that's of consequence that I'd like to tell you that Johnny Depp definitely caused, and he was the source of everyone's suffering at all times. Yeah, we didn't take any pictures of that, but yeah, no, that's a fair and accurate representation of a picture which doesn't really show anything. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and elaborate what's on this picture, and oh my god, it was so horrible, and look at the aftermath of this heinous attack. Little bruise, okay, maybe a little bit of a herpes cold sore on the mouth, but yeah, no, that's the aftermath of a knockout, drag 'em out fight, and preposterous to say the least. But yeah, Tillett Wright's testimony was like 45 minutes of a video deposition, and the reason why he's no longer in the life of Amber Heard, it actually presages most of this stuff, okay, 2015-ish, somewhere in on or around there. Tillett Wright is a producer of many strange glances, but he was working on a LGBT photograph to, spread or something, and unbeknownst to Johnny Depp, elicited the services of his underage daughter at the time to be a model, and then also make a statement that she came out as bisexual, even though that wasn't the case, and that was, of course, under the nose and behind the back of Johnny Depp, so he was justifiably pissed off at the situation, okay? There was nothing physical that came of that, and when it seems to, okay, most of this stuff comes to the head whenever you fuck around with Johnny Depp's kids, and yet, after that blatant abuse of trust, there was nothing recorded on that at all whatsoever. Like, there was no altercation there. I don't know, man. It just kind of falls apart. So it really just landed with a thud, okay? Like, Depp apparently told Wright, because they immediately began this really close relationship, because, oh yeah, they both had this real kindred relationship that just struck up overnight because Johnny Depp doesn't have a lot of friends or something. Like, it's a bonkers tale by a bonkers person, but would tell Wright that he felt deep shame about his drug habit and its impact on the family, describing Depp as very open. Wright also said the actor confided in him about his Oxycontin habit, which he had described as the hardest thing he had ever tried to kick. Yeah, I don't think you'll ever hear an addict, you know, somebody who's gone through the detox, okay, and the recovery from from a opioid addiction. I don't think anybody's going to tell you that there's anything more difficult than that. So outside of that, just a bunch of hearsay. It's like, oh yeah, Depp said Amber Heard won't have a career after her looks fade. She's 36 right now, and how many people are, you know, just signing up and rather lining up for her to, I don't know, star in their film. maybe they've seen her performance even before she took the stand. And then you had the beginning. You had the start of Raquel Pennington, somebody who you've heard a lot about during this trial, obviously, right? She was there. She was corroborating a whole bunch of stories, at least in the tales that were being spun by Amber Heard. Okay, she was always the person that was just right there, okay? She's very prominent in the Coachella story, okay? Also in the final big breakup story before Johnny Depp left in May of 2016. I don't even have the dates and everything all fucking nailed down, and neither do these people, because they make these fantastical fucking claims that don't really land with anything other than just a splat like a turd on a bed. It just doesn't resonate. And apparently, according to reports from inside the courtroom, nobody's buying any of this shit anyways. So yeah, her examination by the Depp team, the Depp side, started off with questioning, and her responses were belabored, to say the least. It was taking a long time for her to even just go, yes, or no, yes. It seemed very prepared, very well thought out and elaborated, and you didn't really get much from her. And again, this is somebody, yes, her best friend, okay? But according to her, they drifted apart, okay? They're no longer friends. How did that start? Oh, we just don't talk anymore, which is kind of preposterous, because I went to college, which is just about a decade ago at this point, with a bunch of people who I would still call friends. I don't talk with them, but again, if we seen each other out and about, we wouldn't be unfriendly with one another. But this was very much one of those things where it's like, yeah, we're not friends anymore. Could you elaborate on that? No. At least that's what it was during the Depp side of this examination, okay? Raquel Pennington testified about getting into a physical altercation with Heard over misplaced dishware for Thanksgiving. Again, something just so banal as this, and once again, testimony that Amber Heard was the physical one with all of the big parties involved. We were setting up for Thanksgiving, and we were looking for maybe some glasses or dishware, and we couldn't find them anywhere, Pennington said in the recorded deposition. Heard finally found them in their place, and I thought I looked, and he started arguing, and she thought that I wasn't looking hard enough. I believed that I pushed her, and she pushed or hit me back. Really? Okay. You remember the situation, but you knew that it got physical, but you couldn't quite place everything. But then you'd go on to illustrate other more fantastical situations with more or less detail, depending on, well, how much you've thought about it or how much you were crying. But again, it's funny. On the Depp side of the examination, she was shown these two pictures that were there. And it's like, okay, what do you see here? Oh, this is Amber Heard with a clump of hair ripped out of her head viciously. I'll zoom in for you guys if you guys, only watch this. I don't know why you'd only watch me. But there's apparently a part on her scalp. A part on her scalp where hair was viciously ripped from her head. Okay. And this is apparently the aftermath of a fight where she might have got headbutted, according to her, where there's visible swelling, I guess, and also a busted lip from a knockdown, drag-it-out fight, okay? And as you can notice, this is on the Depp side of the examination, and I'll zoom out a little bit so you guys can see Raquel's expression. Yeah, she doesn't look all that worked up. That would change when Rottenborn would start out his side of the examination by saying, I know that some of this is emotional. Oh yeah, there you can see, that's the clump of hair that was allegedly ripped out of her head, where it's just, bloody, and it was tragic and stuff. That doesn't look like it was, shaved out of her head or anything like that. Or, being somebody who used to watch wrestling at the time and knows the story about how Mick Foley at the time, Mankind would cut little divots in his hair, so it was easier when it looked like he was insane and he was pulling his hair out. It would just be an easy pull away. No, it doesn't look exactly like that at all whatsoever, no. But then, yes, it's shown a different picture. Obviously, yes, the next day. Then she starts to look a little bit more concerned and has more volume in her hair. She was worried about the physical safety of Amber Heard, but not enough so that her and her fiance would also move out. Okay, cool. But yeah, no, then she'd go on to cry by seeing the exact same pictures that she didn't show a lick of emotion towards. It was, that was an impeachment in and of itself, but apparently looked good. And there you could see, oh yes, after Johnny, he was terrifying as he was spraying around a Magnum bottle of wine and spilling it everywhere on a carpet. As you can see, horrific wine stains everywhere, and oh my god, he was just trashing the place. Isn't it terrible? And he also threw pillows on a couch. Didn't see any of it, just, heard the commotion. Right. And then you had this soilet. Okay, this is Josh Drew, okay, at the time, the former husband of Raquel Pennington, which, like I said, everybody who's ever been associated with Amber Heard in a personal context, their life has just been torn to shreds, okay, because he was apparently in a happy relationship. Even though you listen to some of his testimony, you'd have a tough time believing that he'd ever have any sort of a successful long-term relationship with a woman. But hey, maybe after they hit the epiphany phase, knowing that they need to settle down with a beta provider, there's the living embodiment of the fucking soy boy meme. But hey, you know what? It didn't work out, obviously. And then, not long before he gave this video deposition, which of all of the depositions that we've seen today, it was probably the most credible one, okay? Like, he had a good speaking tone. He was answering questions in quick succession. He wasn't sitting back and thinking about anything. He seemed the most credible. But unfortunately for him, it started out by, did you see anything that Johnny Depp did? No. Do you know anything that he did? No. All I seen was the aftermath. I also stepped out after all of the death and destruction of that final altercation between everybody, where the cops were called and they looked at the house. They didn't see anything worthy of charging with a domestic violence, beef against a man who's also alleged to have beaten a woman who was, yes, beat about the face, who both police officers said didn't show any, visible signs or appropriate injuries that would be associated with a violent encounter, even though, these are police officers, obviously, and they're trained to find any probable doubt, especially when you have at the time, a demure, beautiful white woman. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? But yeah, no, what did Drew provide? What was his most damning testimony? Amber Heard had like 30 late night visitors come over, mostly men. Good, great. Then you had the one in-person witness, which we'll get to at the end, because I just want to put all of these video depositions together, wrap them up real tight, and throw them off of a bridge, because they were all fucking worthless, if you ask me. But hey, some people, maybe, I'm not in the jury, I'm not in the courtroom, even though there were also reports from inside the courtroom that people, when the video depositions, especially after this airhead was being played on the screen, they were getting up, walking around. People in the gallery were getting up, walking around and moving about just so they could stay awake. Great, wonderful, fantastic. And again, they got through 5.5 video depositions today with a live witness. This case isn't going well for Amber, okay? If it wasn't apparent yesterday after the implosion on the stand, it's like, okay, cool, we're going to play a bunch of videos that corroborate her story without, anybody actually seeing anything going down. But to be fair, like I said here, this Elizabeth Marz woman, who has some of the most Valley Girl vocal fries and intonations that you're likely to ever hear, and her vocabulary when she's speaking, well, I feel that Johnny was really dangerous and stuff. I remember I only lived at the ECB for about 2 weeks or so, and I knew I was scared or something, because Johnny would he'd come out and he was really angry, and he was coming out of the door, and he was charging at me, and I had to go right past him and then go into the room, and I was scared. That was about 45 minutes of that nonsense, but it was all hatcheted up because this bitch probably had a long fucking time to go in between coherent statements, so a lot of fucking editing needed to be done. And again, what did she provide with her testimony? She didn't see anything. All she seen was the aftermath. We don't know if Depp did any of that stuff, but big credit to her. She at least thought, or I felt like it was a tough situation, so she was the only one who was smart enough. Okay, if it was a bad spot for her, she left after 2 weeks because she felt a certain way. She was apparently a long-term friend of Raquel Pennington. So again, this is getting into the extended Johnny Depp universe, really. But at least for everybody watching, she took off her coat. So that's a plus, I guess. Then you got into the makeup artist that did the makeup for Amber Heard before the James Corden show, who has a futuristic accent. I can't quite place it. Like, you'd expect her to be Hispanic of some form or fashion, but it also kind of sounded like Northern European, kind of French, kind of like Spanish, and then also kind of, you know, Central American. She's a weird lady, okay, who also came over for Thanksgiving and was weirded out by Marilyn Manson being there, who also only was in a private setting with Amber Heard like less than 5 occasions, which just goes to show you how whirlwind these relationships are between Amber Heard and anybody, okay? Because Melanie here and Amber aren't on, not so much on speaking terms, they just aren't friends. Self-admittedly, not friends. And it's like somebody who was your designated stylist and makeup artists on numerous occasions, somebody who apparently, okay, used a bruise kit, which in the industry is used to put on bruises, okay, which she also attested to. It's like, oh, okay, in my line of work, I would do the accent if I could place it or put it, but I can't because it's just so weird. But she also said, oh yeah, I just covered up Amber's, you know, vicious cuts and bruises all over her face with all the swelling, but there wasn't swelling and it was fine. And so I used the bruise kit to cover up the bruises and swelling on her cheeks for the appearance that was videotaped live for everybody to see. And then also, you know what, hey, just put on some red lipstick, don't worry about it. You can just cover up a cut on a lip without putting anything additional on top of a sore that's there. You can just put on red lipstick and don't worry, it'll be fine. None of it really made sense other than her admission that yes, in her line of work she puts bruises on as well as tries to cover them up, but you can only do so much. She went on for a very long time, changed a bunch of different angles, like her background would constantly change. I don't know how long her deposition was. I wasn't quite keeping track. You could run it back if you want, but I'd imagine it probably went on for a significant amount of time. But again, of the injuries that she helped cover up, he was light on the details. Like it says here, I just did makeup, just a little heavier. We covered the discoloration, the bruises, with a slightly heavier concealer, one that has a little more of a peach undertone, which I normally wouldn't use on Amber, but peach do cancel blue, so I did that under the eyes. Okay, cool, great. How do you tie that to Johnny Depp in any form or fashion? Okay, she had a bruise. Was it self-inflicted? But she was also saying in certain pictures she can see the damage. It's like, okay, but everybody else can't see fuck all. And then unfortunately they don't have a picture posted up quite yet of the final witness of the day, the acting coach, Sexton, who's being interviewed behind the fast food speaker. It's very strange. I don't know why anybody would openly admit to being the acting coach of Amber Heard, but hey, you know what? I guess you got to be honest about your profession. But Sexton, yeah, she was up there saying that, oh yeah, Amber has a tough time crying on command. I know, we've seen her testimony, but the most damning thing is, again, some hearsay evidence. Depp made Heard sob before classes. Okay, cool, great, wonderful. Amber Heard's former acting coach testified that Johnny Depp reduced his wife to tears regularly throughout their marriage. Sexton, who started working with Heard in 2011, it didn't help. Really didn't help, said in a pre-recorded deposition that Heard often started their training sessions crying. I had to block out time cushions around her classes because she would be sobbing when we started and we couldn't work. Sexton claimed Heard was crying at the start of 80 to 90% of their sessions together. Again, I doubt that. We seen her direct testimony. We seen her cross where she couldn't even muster anything resembling an emotion, let alone a tear. But 80 to 90% of the time she was just openly sobbing. I don't think so. But again, I have no reason to doubt her testimony, because I'm not in the jury box. That's for them to decide. And yes, she also heard muffled arguments. And again, that's another thing with all of these video depositions. We heard things. Do you remember anything in particular? No. Some of these depositions, by the way, what was it? Tillett and Pennington, they were earlier this year, but Josh Drew, who is a total and unequivocal simp, who was just so happy to hear a couple of months before, oh, Amber Heard wanted to reconnect, and oh boy, he was just squirming in his chair. Probably because he hasn't sniffed a bit of pussy since he divorced with Raquel Pennington. But that's, hey, that's just me reading into this. He's the type of motherfucker to pick up a stripper after her shift in order to drive her to her pimp's house, or walk the sorority chick home listening to her crying about how she can never find a good guy and then get laughed at when he says that, well, I'm a nice guy. No, nobody can pin down a specific instance, okay? Nobody can point to anything directly, okay? All they have is just these hyperbolic claims that, yes, we heard arguing. Cool, great. It was a shitty relationship. That's the best that Amber Heard can muster. But I said there was one in-person witness here today, and it was Amber Heard's sister, Whitney Heard, Whitney Henriquez. Okay, she's married now. She has 2 small kids and a better rack than Amber's ever had in her life. But outside of that, this was supposed to be the big in-person witness for Amber Heard, right? And it lasted all of like an hour. It was all said and done. There was no redirect. It was like uneventful, to say the least. Okay, like if you're looking for something to criticize, okay, if you're actively looking to believe the story that Amber Heard is telling you, that Johnny Depp is a monster, you could take something away from this, because yes, she did attest to an actual physical altercation. Okay, the stair incident, right, where Whitney was going to be thrown down the stairs, and Amber Heard was thinking about, oh my god, it was like when he allegedly did that to Kate Moss, which nobody can also back up. And then again, depending on which recitation of this story you've heard before, you can shelve all of that to the side, because we got a brand new recounting of this situation. Apparently, okay. Whitney and Amber were upstairs. Amber ran upstairs. Whitney went to go follow her. And then Debbie Lloyd, the nurse, okay, was called to the residence. This was what, penthouse 3 or 5, wherever the fuck they live, okay? It was the mezzanine level, right? They went upstairs, okay, to go console them because Johnny was being a monster or something like that. I don't know. Being unhinged, right? So Lloyd came in. She was called. She went upstairs to go deal with the fucking screeching harpies with blockheads, okay? Went up there, and then right at the top of the stairs, when they came out, Johnny was just running back up the stairs after he threw a Red Bull can, which Debbie Lloyd didn't testify to at all whatsoever. And again, this is a new detail that's in there, okay? Hit her in the back, and she didn't even, notice, apparently, even though he would have thrown a full can of Red Bull up the stairs, hit her in the back, and she didn't respond to it or anything, even though they were just having a discussion. And put that aside, right? So Johnny's rushing up the stairs after he'd previously rushed down the stairs. Now he's going back up the stairs, only to start pummeling Amber Heard about the face, which is a totally new detail in this. Like, even Amber Heard was saying that, oh my god, I was worried about Whitney, and if I didn't step in between the two, he would have threw her down the stairs. At no point in time did Whitney ever say that Johnny put hands on her. Great, wonderful, inconsistent. Depp's team, Big Shirley, whatever that lawyer is, I'm not entirely sure of her name. She has a very alliteratively pleasing name to say, but I can't recall. It was just such unappealing, unemotional. Like, there was nothing that came out of this, which is also just kind of a condemnation of the Heard family, because apparently talent is genetic, and it just, that entire generation was just, moot and devoid of any charisma. Like, again, if this is the worst shit that comes up, okay, Amber Heard's younger sister, Whitney, testified that Johnny Depp's controlling nature. Okay, he said that he managed the actress's wardrobe through a stylist, which Amber employed, right? The medical care, provided her a personal nurse and doctor. Okay, cool. And kept an eye on her phone. Wow. Cool. You're in a committed relationship, and he wants to make sure that you're not fucking the neighborhood, even though you had the simp from across the hall say that, yeah, there was like 30 people that came in late at night. Great. Cool. The 2 years younger Heard, well, maiden named Heard, said the two seemed really in love at first until Depp gradually became more controlling of Heard. It started with light jokes, okay, and then it intensifies. What does that mean? Okay, saying that your sister's a cunt, and that you're supposed to be a marriage counselor, and if you thought things, her self-imposed title, she was the marriage counselor, and she was the mediator between the two in the arguments, right? And if she thought that the relationship was getting too toxic, she would have advocated for it to end. but at no point whatsoever did she ever advocate for it to end. In fact, you know, she lived with them at the penthouse because literally everybody lived at this fucking complex, right, at one point or another. And then she left. And then she came back because she felt like Johnny Depp was just such a monster. Somebody who she, on multiple occasions, got drunk and did cocaine with. Just a total monster. Okay, cool. This was supposed to be the hatchet man. This was supposed to be the witness that was supposed to corroborate all of the fantastical stories. Okay, she also talked about the trailer park because she was also there. The Hilldale trailer park, which she actually described better than I am, but then also that Amber Heard did as well. It was just kind of an upscale trailer park, and not so much a trailer park. There was a bunch of customized Airstream trailers that were around. They all had their different themes. So she was also talking about going into every trailer. They were all unlocked. Okay, you just rented out the place for however long you wanted to. You'd go in, you'd see the different scenes. And then, of course, this is what contradicts everything, right? Because this is the same situation. This was that the hippie circle jerk where apparently Johnny Depp was just so inebriated and Amber was totally not, but also at the same time sharing a chair with somebody and maybe getting a little too chummy for his like, and got up and said, "You got your hands on my girl and I don't like that, fucking stop it." But then also there was no testimony from multiple people who were at this situation, didn't at all whatsoever mention that whole grabbed her by the wrist and said, "Do you know how many pounds it takes to break a human wrist?" Another one of those unique details from Amber Heard, who was also high on MDMA and mushrooms at the time. But Whitney didn't see this because she got too drunk, and she is apparently the more sensible sister. She got too drunk and then went and retired for the evening. But then, yes, when she was going from trailer to trailer just to see anything that was going on, she got into Johnny's and Amber's trailer and then said that it looked like a bomb went off. Even though Raquel Pennington earlier said, who was also there at the situation, and then also also corroborated the story that whole fucking weird wrist gimmick never happened at all. Didn't bring it up. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't corroborated from Amber Heard from anybody else. So Whitney said that she went into the trailer and it looked like a bomb went off. Even though Raquel Pennington said that she went in there and she seen a broken wall sconce. It was nothing. Today was nothing. It didn't help her case at all whatsoever. There's supposed to be a couple more video depositions and another video witness, like Elaine Barkin. Okay, what are you going to get out of that? You had a brief dalliance that wasn't reciprocated from Johnny Depp. Okay, what do you have to say about that? "Oh, he beat me mercilessly," over the course of like a month that you guys were meeting. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know how much longer her case in chief is supposed to be. Theoretically, she's also running out of time as well. So maybe next week, like a couple of days, because closing arguments are supposed to be next Friday, okay? And then if everything continues on this downward trajectory for Heard, jury deliberations, should be about 20 minutes. But hey, we'll see where it goes. Today was nothing. Today was nothing. If you're looking to poke holes in Johnny Depp's story, you have to be willing to buy into the fact that nobody's seen anything happen except for Whitney, whose story is completely different than everybody else's when it comes to this stare gimmick. So I don't know, your mileage may vary. I still think that this is going to be a fucking overwhelming victory for Depp, and maybe Friday, from all of the tertiary stories and stuff, we'll just go back and run it back with all of the shit that I found exceptionally excruciating in the overall media coverage, which is wild because there's supposed to be, unless things change, okay, there's supposed to be one more day of testimony tomorrow and then have its requisite one day off, okay, the Friday off. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.